Hello there, welcome to Redline, Reptiles and Exotics. I'm here today with my stepson, Eddie. He's been apprenticing under me for keeping reptiles. Today I'd like to give a perspective of our youth. Um, most of the time when we do videos, it's all adults telling people what they think about keeping. And I just like to get a perspective of it on a younger generation because they're the ones that's going to carry on what we do. So today I'm going to ask Eddie a few questions and give his perspective and what he's learned. And maybe he can help you out with some stuff. He's got a YouTube channel himself. If you want to tell him.
It is Eddie and Zeke's Adventures with those spaces in between.
Yeah, this video today, it's not scripted or anything like that. We don't do stuff like that. It's just, we try not to do any cutting or anything like that. But Eddie, tell us a little bit about your snake and when you got him and where you got him from and all that. And even tell us about yourself a little bit too.
So I started keeping back in November of last year. I was scared coming into it because there's so many experiences you have to look out for, so many dangers in it, because you don't know what you're getting into until you really do research and figure it out by day and all that. So once you get into keeping, it's more of, okay, now that I'm into it, I have more experience, it's not so bad, I can get up there with more reptiles. So when I first got Zeke, he wasn't really a juvenile, I wouldn't say. He was more of a baby, but he was getting there.
In between, maybe?
Yeah, maybe he was there. So Zeke, he wasn't snappy, he didn't feel threatened, but he wasn't like where you can touch his head, you can move him around super quickly. He's still jumpy. So Zeke now, he's very good. He ain't as jumpy as he was. He still gets jumpy whenever you don't catch his tail. That'll help them know, hey, that's my owner back there. I should let him pick me up. But if you just go up and grab him, that's not going to end well either for you or the snake.
And he's probably recognized you by now.
Yeah. He's recognized me a lot more now. He'll know if I'm about to pick him up or if I'm about to move him around, because again, your snake isn't gonna come preset and knowing who you are, your identity. You're gonna have to teach him your stuff about you, and you're gonna have to teach him where to go. Basically, it's not just gonna. Well, also the snake its mind is of its own. It's not gonna just listen to you. It's gonna do what it likes to do. Of course, you're going to have to guide it, because it's not just got legs and move itself. But the snake, once you get used to it, it'll get used to you, and then it'll move on with you. It's going to recognize you, and what I recommend you also do is introduce it to people, because it also helps them get other sense into other people.
Yeah, and we had a great breeder, I mentioned Yana,
Yep.
from Lil Ball Peep. She's a great keeper, gets her snakes enrichment, gets them out, and socializes them. So when they come, they're not, they're pretty social, but they're still, head shy and stuff. That's what you as a keeper, you have to kind of get them out and kind of desensitize them and give them some stressors to learn. And things like, to me, the key is enrichment. So can you tell me what you do for enrichment?
I like to get him out, take him outside, let him move around, exercise in the sun. Of course, I don't get him out every single day, every single second, because that can cause stress on him. That can get him not to eat and various other things. So I like to let him climb because he's semi-boreal, so he knows how to use his tail pretty well. So whenever I get him out, of course he'll move things around because if he's sleeping, he doesn't know what's going on. He'll grab onto something, so I have to fix all that before I can take him outside. So I take him out. I let him crawl. If he wants to go up something, I'll put him up there. Of course, if your snake is small, it's not as big, keep your hands under it or keep a very good eye on it because it could fall and bad things could happen after that. And I don't want to see a snake climb up like a 10-foot tower and just fall, and that's just not a very good thing to see. Nor is it good for you or the snake, because that's a bad look on you, and it's not fun for the snake because now it's on the ground and it doesn't know what happened.
I also know, you mentioned taking them outside and get some sun. Vitamin D plays a big role in their health as far as their skin, and they absorb, the sunlight and helps them kind of with the calcium, get it to utilize the calcium. Mm-hmm. That's also another reason we use UVB in the enclosures. A lot of people seem to be against it. I think it's really another major role in the snake's health. And we get into enclosures. I never let my son. I have two sons that keep, and they do really well. We have an accountability board where they come in and check off stuff that they need to do just to remind us, but they pretty much know what to do. And I just don't give them things. When he started out, I gave him his python was a small between juvenile and baby. I gave him a 40-gallon breeder, but as it grew, he started working doing chores to get a bigger enclosure. You don't have to just go out and buy a big 4x2x2, but he started working towards that goal, and he does things for me. I just don't want him to give him stuff. I'm going to earn it, and that way I'll have pride in it. And he's done really well. He's got a nice big enclosure for his snake, and I kind of let him decorate it and stuff like that. But something else that we do is we go out to the river and look for driftwood.
Oh yeah, that if you ever have like a kid that wants to get into reptiles, do that. It's so much fun for the kid. It's a great way to have family time, to get off the phones, off the game. It's super fun. Just to go out by the river and just pick up driftwood, build a project. It's super fun. Like, I'm not saying dress up all nice to go to it, like wear some outside shoes, outside clothes. But when you do it, always watch the wood, because there could be bacteria, parasites, because that wood comes out of the water, all that fish, dookie, and all that could get all over it, and it's not good for the snake.
That's a great point. We bring that stuff home, we clean it with Dawn dish detergent, and we pressure wash it, and then we let it sit out in the sun, and then we do one final rinse, and then we put it in our enclosures. It makes the closures look real nice. When people come and visit our reptile room, they're in wow, because the enclosures are set up really nice. They look great. And a lot of times, because we give the UVB and the basket light, the snakes are usually out unless they've been fed or something. And that brings another point. We don't hardly have feeding problems. I see a lot of people in these forums that I can't get my snake to eat, or it ain't 8, 6 months. We've not had any snake to go off food except for one hognose. And he didn't go off food, but he's a very picky eater. But our ball pythons, doomer boas, like jungle carpets, and the blood pythons, they rarely go off food. And I think that contributes to the way we keep our animals. And, with him being young, he's learning this stuff, and he can pass it on to his kids. if he has kids, or really has kids. But he also can help other people. Of course, we make mistakes, and sometimes we say stuff that
It's not really relevant nowadays. But I mean, it could be relevant back then, but it's just not relevant today anymore. It's not needed, but it could help still.
yeah. So we're trying to educate people. I want the youth, because these make great pets.
Very great, because with you, they still grow with you because they last up to 15 to 20 years.
Yeah. They're amazing. They're very intelligent. You got anything you want to add for as
Well, with the feeding thing, there's a lot that could happen and a lot that could be into the taking care of process. There's one thing like for the breeding process, they could go on a feeding strike or other things. That's why you should go to someone professional before you start making assumptions and going on the internet.
internet good bad source?
Yes, very. It's not. Yes, it could help, but it's not like where there's professionals on there 24/7 telling you what you have to do, what you gotta do. There's a lot of good places you can go to, like exotic beds and all that, if you have one near you, because they're not easy to find, but I mean they're very helpful to go to. I've heard a lot of reptile people tell you don't go to regular beds because they'll just charge you a butt ton of money just to look over it.
Yeah. And another thing I want to give a shout out is, you don't have to go to the river to look up for driftwood stuff. We also use the Pod Pro. They're very excellent. They do breeding with hog noses, and they also have cork bark rounds and halves, and we utilize them quite a bit because they're very professional and very helpful. And gotta give them a shout out because they're excellent. And they also have bioactive if you decide to go back bioactive. We kind of do semi. Because pythons are pretty much bulldozers. They put a live plant in, they're going to knock it over or dig it up. There's pothos is probably be about the only thing I can think of that you may not dig it up. But we use fake plants from Hobby Lobby, fake pothos and stuff. And eventually, I'd like to go bio, but right now I just don't see it with the bigger snakes. But you need that enrichment for play.
Yes.
That's the first thing I taught him when we got the 40-gallon breeder. I told him that these snakes, breeders usually keep them in racks, and so they're used to that confined space. But, he wanted to see these snakes, so I told him to put a lot of clutter in there, a lot of fake plants, and leaf litter, and man, Zeke just done awesome. I try to stay hands off and let him do his thing. I give him advice and stuff, but he does a lot of research, and research is key. I'm going to recommend Reptiles. They're awesome for looking up humidity and temperatures, and that's something else they do really good. Our accountability board kind of reminds us to do that, and like I said, the youth is our next generation of keeping, so we need to teach them and bring them up right. And that's why I was wanting to showcase my stepson. He's been doing excellent. Very proud of him. I can't thank him enough for caring about such a wonderful and beautiful creature. Anything else?
Back to the system, the rack system. There's a lot of off and on about those. Like some people say, oh, they're bad, they're good, they're bad. It's just off and on. There's two ways you can tell they're bad, and there's another couple ways you can tell they're good. I would recommend rack systems is if you're either selling snakes or like they're babies and you need a place to put them and you don't want to spend like a ton of money to put them in an enclosure. But also if you're selling breeding snakes, put either like some wood or plants in there, or take them outside before you sell them, because that's when you get them outside. They know where they are, they know what they're looking for, they know what they're looking out. And then if you're buying like a rack system to sell like a adult ball python or a boa into, that's not going to be good for their backs or their spines. It's not going to be good for any of that because now they're going to grow into a super confined space and not have anywhere to hide or go digest their food. It's just going to be a huge mess.
That's a good point. I'll touch on that just a little bit. I'm not against lax. I don't much care for them if you're actually the keeper or pet owner, but I do kind of understand breeder aspects. They've got many snakes, and the babies you kind of, can keep an eye on them better and stuff. But I really don't think the lax system is good for adult python. But myself, he does make. I've seen people keep snakes and rats that get them out in enrichment. That's what I was talking about. Lil Ball Peep. She has to keep them in racks because that's how she care for so many. She does get them out, socializes them. They're gonna, kind of like him in that aspect. But I'm gonna try breeding myself, but I'm gonna use 40-gallon breeders for instead of the racks, and for the Bledsoe, they're regular 4x2x2s for pairing and breeding. I'm going to start out my babies in 40 gallons, and that way they transition over to adult enclosure would be easier for someone's home. But that was a great point. I'm glad you mentioned that. Another thing that I've taught is when people's snakes go off feeding, sometimes variety is a key. Zeke, he don't like quail that much, but we just don't give him. We give him a variety of quail, rats, even mice, or baby chicks. And I've noticed since we started incorporating a variety that, man, they absolutely feed, and we're eventually going to try to get Zeke off into quail too. It's a slow process. If your snake goes off feed, I think 90.9% of the time it's going to be husbandry. Your humidity, or your heating and masking. So everybody says, "Oh, they're scared of the light." That's so false. When they're in the wild, the sun is out, and they do come out. There's plenty of videos where they're cricket masking to climbing trees, and it's all in the sunlight. So anybody tells you that. I don't know, I think that's ignorant. I was ignorant at one time. But lighting ain't got nothing to do with them eating or going off feed. It's husbandry, period. And that's usually the ambient temperature or humidity and not getting enough stressors. That's another thing that can make a snake go off feed. If someone's walking around their enclosure and they see it all the time and we're not getting them out and giving them that enrichment, they stay afraid. They don't learn how to adapt to noises or things walking around. And that's why I always taught my sons to enrichment. Sometimes they don't always come out. He hit that on his video. Sometimes you have to go in and get them out. Sometimes they'll buck. There's days I'll, one of my snakes does buck and don't want them out, and I'll leave them alone. But sometimes you have to get them out to inspect their health and make sure they've got scale right. When he was learning, he got a small case of scale right, and I showed him how to treat it. And we use Lucille. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but that stuff is wonderful. It cures scale right.
Very good.
Almost instantly. But this is, just things that he's keeping an open mind. He reads and he tells me stuff. I learn stuff from him every day too. Yeah? I'm not too old to learn, and just because I'm his mentor or he's apprenticing under me, don't mean that I don't make mistakes. I make mistakes every day, just about it.
Yeah.
But we try to help each other out. And I think that's what the community needs, is everybody helping each other out. And listening to our youth, because usually they're more open-minded than people set in their old ways,
That's a very good point right there, because, some keepers are really great. They'll help people out, but there's, another side of keepers that are like, oh, I know this, because they want more attention. They say the wrong thing. now people are just going to lose complete trust in you because you just try to act like you know something. Now you just said the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
But when like someone new comes on, they just start saying the right thing. Now people are going to flock over to them because now they're saying the right thing that you could have said before, like, or you could just search it up right in there.
And you like to get Zeke out and show him off? I mean,
Sure. I'll get on. See,
we're going to wrap it up. We didn't want a super long video, and we want to keep things interesting. But we're going to take a look at his snake, and you can see how healthy it is, and he's very social. We wouldn't mind giving this snake to a very small child because he's a very social snake. He's a beautiful snake.
Here's his little colors.
He's healthy. And you can see the camera doesn't do it justice as far as his colors. He's absolutely gorgeous.
He is very, very bright. I hope he keeps his colors. Some people say like when they grow, they don't really keep very bright colors, but so far I believe he will.
See the whole reality. He's just a gorgeous animal. He's not headshot as much as he, I don't think he's headshot at all anymore. But he's growing big. And I think we're going to wrap it up. And you got any closing?
Take care of your snakes is all I can say. Just take care of them. Do research before you ever go into something you can't or can do. Like, even if you know what you're doing, still do research.
Yeah, research is key. And before we sign off, I'm going to give my shout outs. Shira with snake therapy is an excellent person to watch. Torrini, if you want to learn to target train and snake behavioral. Bob Bledsoe, he's just so fun to watch. We have Snake Discovery and Garrett Hartle with Reach Out Reptiles, Nerd, very good with Kevin. And also check out Lil Ball Peeps, the Pod Pro. Just a moment. Check out his own little channel.
It is Eddie and Zeke's Adventure.
And he shows some good times with the snake and how the pet snake can be absolutely a blessing.
Which is another thing. People mistaken snakes for like devil worship and all that when they're just harmless creatures trying to live.
Yes, trying to survive. And in our care, they thrive.
Very much.
And so with that, we're going to sign off and we thank you. And if you would, hit the like button. Leave comments, good, negative, bad. I'm open for any suggestions and everything. We just hope you enjoyed the content and maybe subscribe and follow both of us. Thank you. Have a good day.